Okay, this is my microphone. My name is Nevine, and I'm going to talk to you about something which is very important, something that the world revolves around, something that is extremely important, that everyone cares about. Grades. When the word comes to our mind, we often think of how well we did in biology, our score in our last physics exam, or maybe like our general academic ranking among our friends. Grades move you from one level to the next. They can make you stand out in morning lines. They can get your parents to buy you a new iPhone, or maybe like other expensive gifts. And of course, grades get you into college. So, but before getting into what grades mean and what they should mean, let's look at this slide where Malak and Perry are going to talk about grades. I'm going to be Malak and Perry at the same time. Hey Perry, what are your plans for next year? Hey Malak, I want to get into college for sure. Oh, you have to get super grades then. Yeah, I know, I have to get straight A's and maybe some B's. Same here, getting into college is really hard. Yeah, studying and studying just for the grades. So, as you can see, in most universities and colleges, and most universities and schools, grades are the sole determinants of determining your major and consequently your future. They determine whether we get into medicine, engineering, business, or law. But do grades define us? I mean, should grades be the only determinant of our future? Like, for example, if I'm an A student, does this mean I'm going to be an A person? And if I'm a C student, does this mean I'm not good enough? We'll see. Well, first, let's have a look at colleges. Most universities accept students according to their GPA or ranking. Rarely do they look at other thresholds such as, actual skills that the students have, the actual learning that they have achieved. So if universities only accept students according to their grades, that forces us to ask, should grades matter so much? Well, yeah, most grades do matter because obviously they make up your future. But if we look at grades from a more profound perspective, we will find that grades should only be a part and not all of the equation. Why? Why should grades only be a part and not all of the equation? Because we have other more important things which we call skills. Skills such as what? Such as perseverance. Perseverance is more important than grades. Assertiveness, teamwork, responsibility is a trait which is more important than grades, problem solving, and most important, kindness. So, such skills are not only important to a person's character, they're not only crucial to his character, they're also not acquired by grades, and they are more perpetual and more long-lasting. So, think about this. An A student who aces all his exams is able to get into the college that his parents had always wanted him to. But this person, at the same time, he's not in any extracurricular activity. He's always studying to get those grades. And what would you think this person is going to be like? Do you think he's going to be anybody special, just studying for the grades? I doubt. Now, take the other extreme example. A C student who, although is not excelling in his subjects and academics, is, for example, the head of the charity club, a member of the SU, best MEN delegate at a school. So, which person would you prefer to be, the A student or the C student? But before you answer that, let me tell you one important story here, two important stories which show you that skills are more important than grades. The first story is that of a guy called Richard Branson. At age 16, he was struggling in school, barely graduated from school, and what he did was that he started selling records, blossoming into what is now known as Virgin Records. The second story is that of Steve Jobs. Of course, everyone knows Steve Jobs. And he also struggled with school, and he did not actually get into college. And of course, we know that he founded Apple. So, before getting into, because what was important about these two men is that they had more than what it takes. They had more than what it takes to get a grade. They had the skills. Okay, and I was asking you a while ago, which person would you prefer to be? Would you prefer to be the A student or the C student? So let me show you what Nabila and Zaki have to say. Hey Zaki, I'm studying all day and night to get those grades. Now Zaki. Hey Nabila, I'm in every single extracurricular activity you can think of. I hardly study. I wish I could do that too, but I need my grades to get into college. I'm having so much fun, and I really don't have time to study. I don't think I can get into college. So, who here would prefer to be Nabila? Raise your hand if you want to be Nabila. Okay, only two, three. Who here would want to be Zaki? Okay, actually you don't have to be either Nabila or Zaki because there is a midway. There is a way in which you can get the good grades that you want and also attain the necessary skills and traits that make you a good person and not just a good student. So you're probably asking, how can I get good grades, get into college, have those good traits, have all the skills that I need, and still do everything in life? So the answer is very simple. It just has to do with managing your time and being responsible for your own academic and social life simultaneously. With all this in mind, of course, we have to realize that schools themselves, they have to foster and develop students' skills, and they have to foster and they have to make them focus more on developing their skills instead of making them just focus on grades. Now, if we ask ourselves, do grades make us permanently happy and qualified? Like if, for example, if I'm an A student, does this make me a competent doctor in the future? Or does it make me an efficient pilot in the future? Well, actually no, the answer is no again, because without the substantial skills that I just outlined, you cannot be anything without these skills. Even if you were an A student in your childhood, you will never be good at anything when you grow up, because your happiness and qualifications to endure, you have to have those traits grow up with you. In talking about grades, you have to have the skills, as I said. In talking about grades, a lot of people just care about grades and forget about the actual learning. So, if we ask ourselves, as a teacher and as an educator, if we ask ourselves, how does learning actually occur? So, studies show that proper learning occurs better if there are three things. First, student engagement in classrooms. Second thing, more learning implications by the teachers. And last and most important, grades have to stop being in the spotlight. Teachers, in other words, teachers need to find ways in which they can engage students inside the classrooms where grades would not be the focal point. I don't have to concentrate on grades all the time. Studies also show that when you focus just on grades, less learning is acquired. And when you focus on the learning, you will get the good grades and simultaneously learn for life. Therefore, schools have to find ways in which they can assess individuals according to how much, not just according to grades, but according to how much they have learned and how much they can apply that learning. Of course, this means that we have to question and change schools' conventional teaching and assessing methods. So, if grades are so important, why is it that people like Einstein, for example, who was actually a failure in school, excelled in his life? And why is it that your C average colleague was able to get that part in the school play and you didn't? Again, it goes back to the grades, it goes back to the skills that these people have that make them excel and stand out. And going back to the notion of learning to learn and not just to good grades, rest assured that if you study just to get good grades, you are going to be like this girl, she can't remember anything after the exam. And if you just study just to get some bunch of data and information in your brain, what's going to happen is that you're going to remember everything during the exam, and once you finish the exam, the information just gets completely dissolved, and you're going to be like this girl or this dog. So, if educators and parents knew this, if they applied the notion that learning is for life and not for just to get good grades, if they knew this, you wouldn't have parents who come in to us teachers and ask us, what did my child do in this and what did my child do in that? So some of you know by the introduction, I do work as an English teacher, And during parent-teacher conferences, I get parents who come and ask me these kinds of questions. Okay, so this is a parent watching his child study and checking up on him. These are the types of questions I get during parent-teacher conferences. What did my child get on his last exam? Why did my child not get an A? When is his next test? Where can I get other books to make him study more and get better grades? Who is the best student in class? How can I make him study more? And of course I call these the 5 W's and H's because they all start with the what, where, one, because being a teacher is sort of like to relate things to each other. So it is obvious that when the parents only care about grades and they care about nothing else, or they care less about other things. Another short story I want to tell you is like in one of my previous schools, I used to have this student who was diagnosed to have some sort of stress disorder, stress syndrome. And some of you might know that stress syndromes occur as a result of traumatic events such as death or injury. And when I inquired more about this student, I found out that the only stress that he's really facing is that his parents constantly wanted him to be the best in his class, not to mention the best academically in the school, of course. And because of that, he was always stressed. He was also secluded from his peers. He was sometimes bullied. And all he was doing was trying to make his parents happy. But in doing that, he became one very unhappy individual, person who has no social life, no friends, and he was on a constant mission of just getting good grades. We sometimes beat our children up mentally. We kill their creativity. We obscure their hidden talents and abilities because all we focus on are their grades. Because we have to stop and think and ask ourselves, we don't want to be like these parents. If we care too much about grades, we're going to be like these parents or this parent or maybe this one. And by caring too much about grades, we actually do miss the point of education. I must admit, however, that under the current education systems, grades are important because they do determine a lot about our future. They do determine a lot about what we're going to do and who we're going to be. But we must maintain an equilibrium between good grades and a healthy lifestyle. Grades don't define us, and they shouldn't. So the next time you go as a parent, you go into your parent-teachers conference, and along, of course, with some of the questions you will still ask about the grades, I'm sure, ask these questions instead. Is my child having a healthy relationship with his peers? Is my child achieving his potential? Is he applying what he's learning? Is he fully engaged in the classroom? And does my child possess the traits and skills that make him a good person and not just a good student? And the next time you urge your child to sit and study to get that super duper grade, stop and ask yourself, have I hindered my child from developing his potential just by making him get that good grade? Have I prevented him from developing his potential and his character by making him sit all day and study? Give your child the freedom to develop himself and the freedom to achieve his natural potential in all aspects of life and not just in grades. Maintain the balance between his academic life and his other areas of life, and the world will be a much better place. But until we can break the indefinite cycle of getting good grades because of university benchmarks, I want to repeat 4 things. First, grades shouldn't define us. Grades shouldn't hinder us from becoming fine characters. Grades shouldn't defy our acquisition of skills. And of course, in learning, we have to be determined that in learning, we are learning for life and not learning for good grades. And on a final note, 2 more things. The first is that you are more than just a grade. And the second thing, my daughter is sitting in this audience, and this doesn't mean you're not going to study.